It's just junk. It was given to us, and I wasn't going to do anything with it. But I thought, COVID, you know, this sort of thing, can't get parts, so I might as well do something that's free. Yeah. Hang on, I'll take these out. And there's one left. Cool. No, it was a guy left it here. He didn't want it. But the challenge with this isn't getting it going. This will go. There's no question if we spend some money. But the challenge is I'm not going to spend a cent. That's a big challenge. So I have to look at things like the timing chain to make sure it's not twisted. Ignition parts. It's CDI, I believe. But there's a lot to it which I don't think we can work with. But I do think it's worth a go. This thing's seized up. Seized pretty well. There's a bit of rocking in the crank, but that's as far as we're going. Kickstarter. That works better than bloody 250 I've just done, but we can't get any joy out of it. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is try and get the piston off. That could be tricky. I'm just going to dust over here with some water. The piston has a little bit of movement. It's very gluggy. We'll just CRC it and see if we can get any joy that way. Maybe you go underneath where the spiders are. Hopefully the redback doesn't pop out. There we go. Oh, just like a board one. Let's get that pin out. It might be tricky. Perhaps in the meantime we can do something else. Like take that off. I can't be bothered getting my engineer's hat, so I'm just going to use the carpenter's for now. Let's have a look. I see somebody's been here. And that'll be the kid who I used to teach, who's now got children. This sort of thing is perfect for a parent-child project. Yeah, a lot of stuff's going to have to be soaked. Want to make sure those rings can be salvaged, because we are not putting new rings in. Perfect. Oh, that is good news. Excellent. Yep, they're going to be fine. Awesome. Alright. That will clean up. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm worried about the rest of it. Alright. Well, let's keep going. And let's have a crack at this guy here. Bit more CRC. I don't have a puller, so it's down to brute force. That could be a problem. How the hell are we going to disassemble that? How do you get in? Ah, I see. That's got a big split snap pin sort of thing around it. Didn't expect that. So that goes like that. This does not sound very pretty. So it's just like a normal clutch, but it's a bit rusty. Oh, all of a sudden. Oh no, that's just a freaking gear. I got my hopes up. I thought the crank was turning. The crank's rusty, the bearings. It goes like that. And this is for the gearbox, which is a little bit rusty, but it doesn't seem that bad. Let's pull this off, see what this divulges. Oh yeah. Oh fuck. That's pretty straightforward. It's kind of rooted on. Be gentle with it to start with. Let's have a looky in here. No idea what it is. Looks like an oil pump of some sort. It's an oil pump. Sweet. That's all I need to know. Clean it up later. I might get rid of that gasket. I don't like it. You can see all the fibres in it. That's why I think it might be asbestos. I'm just trying to free this up a bit. Can't be great, but CRC, RP7, what am I going to call it? Pretty good stuff. Let's go a bit of smack on the top while I was holding a screwdriver like that and whacking the top with the nut on. And we have something good. That should have a keyway. Good. Hopefully those coils are alright, because if they're not, we're shagged. But I just need to knock that key out, because that is something the key doesn't want to come out. That doesn't matter, that can stay. We don't care. There's more water coming out of it. Right, so we've got these. That whole stator plate comes off. Alright, so we need to get that out. Hopefully it relents without giving us too much grief. There we go, that's one. Did I just smack the camera? If I did, I'm terribly sorry. You can tell I'm running out of CRC. Friggin' hole in it. I felt that doing something. Down there. I'm so scared of breaking that. Alright, there's a seal there. Down there. That pickup will clean up, I reckon. That shouldn't be too bad. Right, and this lets us have a bit of a look-see in here at the cam chain. And a couple of idlers, which incidentally is freaking stuck. That is the tensioner. This is likely to have a spring behind it. Oh yes it does, and there's oil there too. A nice surprise from water. Let's pull you back. There we go. That will relent, and we can take a little chainy poos out. Wonderful. Stuff it all in there and take it out, and we'll fix and clean that up. What we've got left, semi-seized crank. We're sort of on the mend now, and we've still got a problem with one of the idler pulleys that's seized. So I might take that out there. There are O-rings in there too. That one's cool. The tensioner one is seized solid, so I will take that out, and I'll do it right now. Hanging up on the neutral switch. The shift drum, I think, is rusted in. Let's see if we can get him on its end now. I've taken the gear selector out. I just don't want anything. Let's have a look at the damage. Oh, it's not that bad. Yeah, there's nothing to it. That's fair. Oh, that's the oil pump drive off the timing chain. That's a kind of nifty little design. Okay. And that meshes with that. There's a gearbox. And you can see it was sort of... Oh, shoot. That's not good. It was all rusty on the end of the shift drum. So we need to clean the shift drum up. That looks awful. There we go. Right, so what have we got? Manky cases full of sludgy, oily stuff down the bottom, but fortunately, everything looks to be in pretty good nick, which blows me away. We have a problem with the crank bearings being a little bit bindy and horrible. They should be replaced. They're noisy. I'm going to soak that. The shift drum's the thing that's worst of all. We've got a shifter fork that's doing well there, but this one's absolutely sea solid. I can only get one gear. I can get neutral in first. There are another 3 gears, which is operated by that, which I couldn't get. Gear set's fine. Even the bearing's pretty cool. That's alright. That gear set's pretty good. No damage whatsoever. Now, other gear sets is just as good. It's got some, basic corrosion in there, but I don't think it's anything to worry about. Right, so I've given these cases a preliminary bit of a squirt. I blew them off with, oh, hang on, hey, that's probably better. I blew them off with water, with air, sorry, but there's still a bit of muck there, sorry. Things like around the bearings, CRC, just to disperse some of the water. There's a bearing there. You get flash rust with some parts. That's all alloy, so it doesn't. There's a bearing there. Let's fill that up. And that'll sort of hold them. The thing is, actually, what you can do, if you've got enough methylated spirit, water will dissolve into methylated spirit. Then you can dissolve that very methylated spirit full of water into petrol. I've done it before on another video. So I wouldn't normally do a gig like this, but or at least clean it like that. But I don't think, for the purpose of this little exercise, it's going to matter too much. Right, a few rusty bits. White vinegar. This is a bit of a no-no, but who cares? I don't. I think it's going to be fine. I've been wanting to use this stuff for a while anyway. Not a great idea to stick a crank in a vat of white vinegar, but there's nothing perishable on it. Those bearings don't have any soft bits and pieces which need to be sort of taken into account, but it will help get rid of the rust, and we can dry it out fairly easily. Screws. It'll get rid of all that. Removing rust by electrolysis is far better, but I'm not kitted out for that. Is that magnetic? It's aluminium. Bearing. Touchy plates. Clutch discs. A rusty kickstarter. And a gear shift lever. And I think that will most likely do. Shift drum has one side that works reasonably well, and the other side that's stuck. Wire brush on the drill certainly, removes a good deal of it. So I'm just going to try, and then we'll try and free it up. I might let it soak in some oil. Got a bit of 2-stroke fuel. This is actually premium unleaded. This hasn't even been in 24 hours yet. But the problem with this is, they can stay in quite a lot longer, but it's the crankshaft that I don't want to leave in there for any great deal of time. Bearings sound like crap. That's a bit better. But, they were, I'll put that on the outside, this on the inside. They were pretty messed up. They were seized, and some oil shuts them up. I'm tipping the forks going more like that. The bigger of the two that's got a thrust washer will go into that one. And we'll slot some oil in there. It's going to become messy, isn't it? This one goes in the needle roller, and that goes into that one there. So that would be like that. Some oil in the pilot. Some oil in the bearing. And there. Alright, then let's stick him in, hey? It goes that way. I think it does. Okay. I've got that wrong. What have I done wrong? That's the output shaft, that's the wrong way around, dickhead. That goes like that. Aha! That looks more like it. I think we're good. Alright, let's just drop him in and go for broke. Time to make a gasket. I can feel where it is. The bearings are pretty scratchy and horrible. They do shut up, but they're letting go of some rusty looking oil. This one's particularly rank. But we're only seeing if we can get this going. I mean, they will shut up, I guess, but what are you doing, eh? That goes that way. In you go. Damn it, it's not high enough. Hang on a minute. I don't know where this goes. Does that go over there? Yes, probably. Is that going to go in? Sweet! Oh, look at that! Great. Alright, so we need the Kickstarter shaft. I'm just using a little bit of Permatex for our homemade gasket. And I'll do it on the cover as well. Time to close the shop. Right. And that's alright, that side is here. What have I done? Oh no, that's cool. That should go in. That's going to squeal, that's going to rumble its ass off. But that doesn't matter. The cases are tied together, we can just get a razor blade and dock off any, this is a bit blunt this one, dock off any bits of gasket. They're just sort of running along with that and you get it nice and flush. Oil pump was pretty clagged. Lots of dried deposits and that sort of stuff in it. These sometimes have a an index mark on the top, this one doesn't. So I think I'm putting it in the right way. Well, maybe that way. Oh no, maybe this way. I think that's right. Where's the spindle? There it is. And you can test the integrity of the thing by seeing if it'll rotate, and it rotates beautifully. And it wouldn't rotate before. So that's cool. That can all go back on. These aren't JIs, these seem to be just Phillips. Cool. Next, it's got a spring, but it doesn't retract all that well. It's a bit better than it was since I've moved it, but obviously that's going to do the world of good. We'll just lubricate that. And that just goes down and goes either side of that spring, but this has to go underneath. It has to go right underneath actually. I might have to take that off. I couldn't get this off before. Yeah, that's got to go underneath that plate. Maybe if I take the plate off. Good. Alright, so I'm just going to pop that down into there, like that, and then put the plate back on. It's just an easy way of doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, then that will run in the pawl, and that should then change gear. So this is good. We've got all 4 gears, and that's all working well. So what I'm going to do now is have a look at the clutch. Here are the metal components. You can see they're still rusty. They've only been in here since last night, but already it's just wiping off. Thank you, Martin. And that's fine to put back in. All those rusty marks, and anything that's stubborn, you can just hit it with some Scotchy Brite, and you're good to go. You can still kind of see it, but what do you do? Another one. This is worse, but again, it just wipes off. The rust was very superficial on here. There's still a little bit there, which would surely disappear the longer you leave it in the solution for, but it's just one of those things that I just really want to get it back together. And if there's a tiny bit of this is marking on here and all that sort of stuff, it doesn't matter. Now normally when something's been in vinegar you neutralise it with bicarb of soda. I'm not doing that. This is all in an ore bath anyway, so it's not going to matter. But that's just come up absolutely beautifully. Fairly dirty carrier, but I've cleaned it up as best I can, or as best as I'm willing to. There are spring saddles here that go on these coil springs. That goes in like that. So it sits in like that, and then these other springs, these guys, go in between. Probably they're like anti-rattle springs. Anyway, what I'm going to do is maybe we put them in like that. It'd be easier. Put him from behind, do you think? We should soak these in oil, but we're just not going to. And then that will go like that. We've got another one. Using this clutch pack in to get the pin in, because the springs are actually quite tight. There we go. Just going to feed this guy around, hoping like hell it doesn't go bang. Okay. I believe that could be it. I believe so. Twang. Yep, that's it. That's as far as it'll go. Maybe a bit of a tap here and there, just to make sure it's all seated in each of those little pockets. It's a weird clutch, I'll just tell you that, it's really weird. Then we've got to stick these in. They just squeeze in. And again, Jesus, where did that go? Well, I got it back, it's sort of twanged off into the roof space. Right, these are pricks to put in, they're very difficult. Sometimes with springs, I'll get a screwdriver and then rip into place like that, but you can't even do that with these. They're so tight, you just have to put them in, put your finger over it, and just squash them into place. It's about all you can do. Boiling splines as usual. There you go. And that goes in first, and that marries up with that gear. But that will free spin unless you engage the clutch. So I haven't got any spare parts left on this, which is rather fortunate because I don't want them. This is a whole world of weirdness. We've got a spacer on the crankshaft there that runs against this gear. The gearbox is just running off this reduction, so just put him down in there. Now these top splines are protruding because they fit in the back of the clutch, and then that goes on, and you've got to kind of hold it and then just let it drop down in, and that's it. That's how it all works. It's weird. And of course a lock nut with 3 small tabs that will fit into the recesses where the splines are, and we can put the nut on. No, we can't. There's a washer somewhere. Where is the bloody washer? There it is there. These are like a curved washer. If you see those, what needs to happen is the part that's facing out, it says here, is outside. What that'll do is when the nut comes down on it, it creates pressure around the outside rather than the inside of the washer. So I'm just going to pop that in. That up, and I thought, I've already got a tool. I bought it for the 750, but I bought 2 of them, and the 750 one's bigger. Just fit straight on. The timing chain I lay in oil overnight. It was dry and looked fairly unhappy, but actually I might just do it this way. That looks easier. Sweet. Alright. And with the tensioner back. What have I done with that? Oh, here it is. Okie dokie. Alright, got the tensioner in. That was seized up, but it's all pretty good now. that will just sit on top, and it runs against the chain, obviously. I'm not going to put the spring in for this yet, because the spring will push that plunger up and maintain pressure on the spring. I'm just going to pop the plug at the bottom, just so that plunger doesn't drop out, and we'll put the spring in when the head goes on. Sifting through a couple of parts that came with it. Cylinder head, no idea how these are timed, I'll figure it out. Cylinder or barrel, it doesn't feel too bad, we'll just give it a makeshift hone, get that dirt out of there. Clutch parts, clutch cover, which is, you know, we have some water and an air filter in there and it's pretty gruddy, and you know, other bits and pieces there as well. So we'll sort through these and I'll be back. Look closely at the top there, you can see the shape of the Kickstarter right underneath it, the gear shift. There's a round mark there for the sprocket. It's working. I don't know if we'll get it all cleaned up because I'm not sure how long I'm going to be doing this for. So the obvious thing now is to take the valves out, but I just can't be bothered. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put it back together. These are quite well thought out. The rocker arms have a thread in the end of them, so you can just sort of take that plate off. Where's the plate? Around this side. You can pop this plate off and just screw an 8mm thing in and pull them out. That was pretty good. This is going to wobble around a bit because I didn't sand it properly, but just stick a bit of oil in those bearings. And this is coming from the director of Don't Do This at Home, because you're a butcher. But it's turning a lot easier. It's based on the principle of turning rust into dust so the oil can flush it away. Go backwards. Just using a quarter inch drive extension, and it's nice and smooth. Oh my gosh, don't do that. Don't do it. Butchery. It feels tighter when you get it all the way home, but it's still smooth. That's running alright. So, if I just stick a screwdriver in, then I got better feel, huh? That'll work. We'll just stick number 1 rocking. Well, it's only got number 1 because it is number 1. That was intake, wasn't it? And it was on that side. So, that will go down there. I should, you know what, I'm really running the gauntlet, not taking the valves out. I just don't freaking want to, you know what I mean? Oh. There we go. And they just sit in, good as gold. We're just looking at getting rid of some of the, just the loose rust on there. Can you see it? That's it. You should clean really carefully with this, but I haven't. We just want to get it going, right? I'll stick a bit of, I'll just clock these quickly. I'll just do them 180 apart. Where are we going? Here we go. I'm just going to feed the piston. I'm just going to stick a bit of lube around it. I'm not sure it matters that much. There's a couple of dowels it locates on. It should be around there somewhere. Let's get that chain out and see if she'll rotate very well. Nice. Get up there. There we go. Oops. Oh yeah, we're dragging the friggin' chain back with us. Right, so I've got a wheel in there. Just free spins, it guides the chain. It's got a bolt with a little washer on there to hold it. Head gasket's knackered, but it's not knackered around where the compression matters. Just around where the oil travels, so there could be a leak, but don't know. The problem is there's 2 O-rings, one there and one there. That's a drain back to the crank, and there's pressure coming up through here. Never used a head gasket, particularly a stuffed one, but today Beggars can't be choosers. So I'm just going to go around. There's a bit of thinner on this rag. Probably a miracle if this works right, but that should locate on those dowel pins, which it does. And we've got to figure out an O-ring situation for these. Cheap Aldi O-rings, and these ones have every size except the one you want. I've complained about that before while I'm doing this stuff. I reckon that is going to work. So, at least then it quantifies me buying those Aldi O-rings, which are rather shit. So, it'll be right. She'll be right. Good old fashioned Aussie saying. Let's drop that in there. And we'll plonk the head on. And that will locate, Jesus, that'll locate on here, like that. And all it needs to do is compress. Because if it compresses, we're off to a good start. Oh God, I've got to make a gasket. I've got to make a gasket for this thing. Oh dear. Bit of Permeotex. It just looks a bit like the off oil that came out of this thing anyway. It's going to have to go with that. I'm going to feed this guy in. And these are known to be fiddly, I'm sure, because I'm finding it fiddly. Do I have to take the head off again? Because I just don't want to. Feed that down in there. Get it around some teeth. Like that. There we go. There we go. It's going to be something around there, although I'm going to give it, I want to pull it around that way a bit more. So, that, oh, I'm on the cam. Hang on a minute. There we go. So if I move it up a couple of teeth, I should see some joy. Something around there. I reckon it's almost spot on, but I don't know. So what I have to do is put the stator plate in. We know that tensioner, they're all on the wheels and all sort of other stuff. That's tight. I'll just recheck it. And then we should be good. So looking at this, I've sort of given it a rudimentary clean. It should generate electricity. Can't see any reason why I wouldn't. There are two O-rings. One goes there. Oopsie. One goes in there. One goes in here. That's bent, that thread too. Something like this. You've got to get it dead square so it just goes in. I think the O-ring's knackered, but I really don't know. What have we got? Screws. We'll just cinch it down bit by bit. The flywheel itself has some markings. It should have freaking markings. There's some nuts right there. And a magnet. That pisses me off. It sticks to everything. I'm just going to wipe around in there. There was some moisture. There's just permanent magnets in here. That's all it is. And I've paid no attention to this, and I've just seen that timing and fire just there. So there's a key way. Like that. Hopefully I can tighten this down because it is bent. Looking at this, there looks like a mark there. You can see that should line up with the T, so that should be right around about there. T and that mark, I think that's right. In which case that's perfectly lined up on top dead center. This line here is as good as you're going to get there. I think. It looks about half a tooth out to me, but I don't know. What do you think? That might be a tooth out. I might just try and walk the tooth a bit because, yeah, that looks lined up there. We're about, hopefully that's about a tooth out there. So I might just move that over and we'll see how we go. We're compressing, which is good. I'm just freeing up this bearing. I've had to use a bit of wet and dry around my circular pliers to hold the centre. But it seems to be doing what it's supposed to do. So that's good. Now this is weird. This is really weird. It pushes the basket, that whole outer goes in. And there's a bunch of bits and pieces that go with it. I've finally figured out the outside part. I've made this out of slightly thicker stuff. It's notched in the side there. And I've just got to cut that out because there's a protrusion, a machine sort of, or a cast protrusion that sort of sits in here. But yeah, it sort of sits like that. And then this goes over there. I don't know why there's a gasket, it's got me a bit baffled. I'm just making a gasket here. Just stick some screws, fasteners in there. I'm using proper gasket paper. I could have saved myself a few dollars, like literally $3 by making it out of cereal box or something. Let me just cut him out and put it in. The clutch actuator. So far I've been absolutely amazed that everything's still sort of there in terms of all the parts, because I'm assuming it was pulled apart a long time ago. And all the threads are in good nick. I'll do a bit of free play on the clutch. Just going to back that off a bit. Valve adjustment. I don't know what they're supposed to be. I'm tipping, if they're anything like the Honda ones, I'm going to do 2 and 3 thousandths. 2 on the intake and 3 on the exhaust. That's a bit tight. They're just such a small adjustment. Probably a bit noisy, but probably right. And we'll also check the bottom. I think one more gasket to make. I've just made that one to close the side of this up. That uses a long through bolt that actually goes through the camshaft. We're almost out of it. Rusty bits. I put my magnet away. That was dumb, wasn't it? Normally you leave these things in for a week or so. Yuck. Stinks. But that gives you an idea. It was never going to come off that easily. Sweet. Again, you would neutralise with bicarbonate soda, but that looks like it might have done the trick. The gear shift was a really bad one. Let's see what this does. Yeah, that looks better. So it's worked. It was only a couple of days, but I did use a full bottle of vinegar in here. And it just wipes off. But that'll flash rust again. So we need to neutralise it, which we're not going to. But what I will do is just get some rattle can clear coat on there. But for the purpose of you know, making things look a bit better, because it's lost all its chrome, or all its plating, you know, I think that's more than adequate, really. There's these bolts that held the fairing type thing on. Look at that. Straight away they look better. Just wipes off. Sweet. There's a sprocket in here too, I think. Traditionally you're just using, oh yeah, just smells like varnish, but the varnish isn't fully, it's not bad, so that's just a case. Oh, there's a bit of crap in there. Yeah, that's just old fuel. So look, it's probably prudent just to pull it apart, wash it out, and just by through the orifices, and I reckon it'll be enough. So I'll just use a bit of 2 strokes, that's all I've got. It's not a good time to light up a smoke. I've got a clean brush though. This brush here is knackered. It's filthy. That should just all come out. Yeah, it does. So we'll just wash that. Quick one, the main jet's blocked. These are welding tip files, and they can be exceedingly fine. We can just bang them through. Wash them out in fuel, and blow it out with compressed air. Try one of these. What about this one here? That's the one I just used, wasn't it? What about one of these guys? You don't want to go too far in, that's too big. That one's perfect. And I can see straight through the jet, so that can go straight back in. Jet. The smallest one I've got, the smallest file I've got, or things, all the talc on my hands from the gloves, don't worry about that. It actually passes through these emulsion tube holes quite well, without any problem. You wouldn't do this to a precious carburetor, right? You do it on a piece of crap like this. This just rocked up in the post. Kill switch, which isn't impressive. It's more a momentary thing. But when you dig in a bit deeper, you're getting these nice looms. This was $42, I believe. So everything's there. The coil, the lead, the plug lead's about 3 feet too long, but brand new coil, and it's all potted and terminated properly and all that sort of stuff. A CDI thing there. Even an NGK spark plug. I mean, you'd think they'd give you a generic rubbish one, but no, it's a proper NGK, which is, I was impressed with that. That's always been my favourite brand. That's a little bracket for the kill switch and the coil. And the thing that's good about this is it comes with, obviously, the loom and the plugs. That would be for a neutral switch on a bike with lights. And there's a hole there. Oh, that's for the screw. But it comes with a seal as well as the O-ring. And I don't know about you, but I think that's very impressive. Might even be easier just to drive and just pull it in bit by bit with the screws. Alright, so there's only 3 wires that are relevant. There's this pale green red one, I just pulled it out. That was for a neutral start switch. Or for a neutral light, sorry. 3 wires. We've got these 2 here, which are the field windings, if you like. That's a single phase permanent magnet, the same as what the 250's got. That's the type of power it's generating. It's AC, and that's a trigger from the Hall effect sensor, and that goes into your, where's the box? There it is. That goes into your CDI module, which I don't know what I've done with. Oh, it's here. So that should just plug into there. Should be in the operative words. There we go. Then we got the coil. And the coil's here. I wouldn't mind keeping this coil and just using the old one. I'll try the old one after. And the coil is, why the hell have we got this colour? Oh, it is what it is. The wires in the eBay diagram, these wires matched, and they don't now. That coil is earthed. No, it's independently earthed. Spark plug. We should get some joy. I'll just put a lead between that and the casing, or at least rest it on the casing somewhere. That'll probably do. And we should have some spokage. Oops. I think we have. Yep. We got a sparker rack. Easy just to fill it with oil here. Some lovely Castrol Active 4T. The oil's worth more than the motor. And that way I don't have to mess around with it in the front yard. I can just sort of put the engine in and kick it over. Got the engine back in. Clutch cable's knackered, but it kind of operates. but you can feel how raspy it is. Sorry about the wind. Kill switch there, that's new. That's all seized up. So was the throttle, but we've got the throttle returning, so it's doing the right thing. I've cheated. I've thrown the old coil back on the bike. I want to try and keep that new one. It's a handy thing to have around, a small coil like that. But if this one doesn't work, well, so be it. All your wiring, new CDI unit, of course all the ignition stuff's in the other side. That's all done. There's a plug here left over. That's for a key switch. So that would normally mount in that hole there, but I don't have it. So aside from all that, it looks like we're almost ready to kick him in the guts. I've got to have a look at the fuel tank. And here she is. There was a Huntsman under here, a dead one, or a skin for one. We'll take that to the garage and have a look at it. Now, the fuel tank, I can't see immediately, I had a quick look before, any splits or anything like that. The problem is the fuel line's rock hard, so we can literally bin it. I'm not worried about that. And it does move. Oops. Yes, it does move. We've only got on, what have we got there? Off and on. There's no reserve setting. So we're just going to turn it off. And the other thing with that is we can't get in. It's riveted. And we don't really care. I'm not that interested in getting into it. It stinks inside. It smells varnishy. Oh, I've left Richard's thing inside. I've got this one. I do use this one from time to time. LED torch. Let's pour him in there and have a look. And it is spotless in there. There's just a bit of silt at the bottom, but not much at all. Absolutely not much at all. I don't know if you can see in there. I'm just using an LED torch, dipping it in and having a look around. Can you see? I hope you can. Where's the lens? The lens over here, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, that's all I wanted to know. So what we can do, it's bound to leak through the tap, the petcock. That is in the off position. I'm just going to throw a bit of petrol in and see what happens. And we've essentially got Buckley's chance of this working. But you can't do a whole lot of work on something, even for a video, and then not do anything with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would just be the biggest anticlimax. And I've already actually done that. That's happened to me with the 250, actually. I tried to get it running and it didn't go at the end of last year, or beginning of this year. I just pulled the pin on it for a bit. So I'm just going to throw a bit of fuel in. This is just regular unleaded. Oh, that is vile. That stinks. What's coming out the end of it? What about now? Bloody tap works. I don't think there's enough really to judge in there. But I can't see, it might be sweating around there a bit. Whatever the case, it's probably alright to try. We open this tap and see if we get joy. Here we go, fuel's going in. Hopefully I'm draining out the bottom as well. It's an ill-fitting hose down there, but let's see what happens for now. Alright, I'm just going to turn it off for now and give it a kick and see what happens. The bottom of the carburetor sprung a leak. Let's see what happens if we give him a kick. What about the choke? Alright. Now it'll sound a lot different when we put the exhaust on. I'm just going to let that fuel drip. But she works. Let's put the exhaust on and see what it's like. We're leaking a bit more now. But seat on and see if it rides. So that's it. I literally went to a video where I didn't spend a cent. And the tyres are flat. I had to cut, yeah, that's flat. It felt very, very, very unsteady. There's the triple tree's got a whole lot of slack in it too. So it's not safe. The rear brake, I pulled it off because one of the brackets had broken. It's got two pistons, it's a twin piston caliper, and it's on the back. Go figure. The front's just got a single one. Anyone that knows anything about, you know, cars or bikes knows that your weight shifts forward when you brake, so you always have the more powerful brake at the front, less so at the back. Anyway, that's it for this one. We got the bike for nothing, and I ended up spending $42. I've kept the coil and the plug that came with the kit, so it's probably worth $10, so perhaps it owes us $30. I don't care. At the end of the day, it runs a lot better than I thought it would. There's no smoke, no rattles, no noises. It runs like a peach. The only thing it really needs, we can bump the idle up, we can mess around with that, but I'm not going to bother. That can be for whoever gets it. But basically on that note, it's free if anyone wants it. I don't want it. It's not my kind of bike. I just want to get a video out of it. But obviously patrons will get first dibs. So, you know, if someone puts their hand up, and no patrons do, come and get it, because I sure as heck don't want it. Anyway, at the end of the day, take good care of yourselves, and I shall see you soon. What do you reckon? Shit. Jesus.